For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings.
They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauer, and today I'm joined by Steve Hook, host of The Right Hook, which you can find every Friday right here on Ex American News at 4 p.m. Eastern. How you doing this Monday, Steve?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Big weekend of sports and hotter than blazes here in New Jersey for the last few days. But yesterday we got a lot of rain, so it's nice and cool, beautiful day. So we're loving it today.
Oh, yeah. We're getting a little relief from the heat here, too, which I'll definitely be appreciating later. But yeah, it's got quite a contrast this weekend between how the UCF event and a lot of the celebrations in D.C. versus the Knicks celebrating victory in New York, and even a lot of the World Cup matches. We're going to get into some kind of cool stories there too, but yeah, we'll just jump right into it. UCF Freedom 250 at the White House.
UFC.
Sorry. UFC. I keep saying UCF, which would be the University of Central Florida. Mauricio Ruffy quotes John 3:16 after victory. Jesus saved my life. Give your life to Jesus. Again, a lot of great statements from a lot of the fighters there. And let me see if I got this up next or not here. And
I know what you're going to play.
Yes. And we even got a shout out to Big Mike. Michelle Obama is a man. By the way, YouTube cut this from their feed of the event, apparently. They went to a black screen, and I guess it must have been a time delay or something, because they didn't want their audience to see this. I guess it was just too offensive for YouTube.
Well, I will say this. We all joke about Michelle Obama, but
Big Mike.
I'm sure even Trump kind of winced a little bit when that guy said that on the lawn of the White House. But for the most part, the fighters were the whole event, I think, was wonderful. The flyover of the B-1B bomber, the Bones flyover was great, and then the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds together doing a very rare diamond formation flyover. That was great. Even the weather cooperated. There was a double rainbow over the reflecting pool, which was reflected in the pool, by the way. And then the fireworks. It was just it was so America. And it's funny to watch the libs lose their minds over this stuff, saying we're literally having a cage match. They didn't say a damn word when trannies were out there flashing their newly store-bought boobs into the camera and groping each other. They didn't give a damn about that. That was all about diversity. But to see Americans enjoying themselves and chanting USA, that's a problem for them. So screw them. It was a great weekend.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to get to zipper tits on the White House lawn here shortly. And, all the wonderful things that they brought us while they were in office. But we can even get to their counter protest or counter event. I'm sure you could smell the Ben Gay from blocks away as all their washed out, aged out hippies are out there pretending to be relevant again. They emptied out the convalescent homes. Bette Midler sings, all you fascists bound to lose to protest Trump's 80th birthday. Meanwhile, UFC Freedom 250 at the White House was peak patriotism. Yeah, and again, it's a bunch of irrelevant. Well, they'd be totally irrelevant if it weren't for the left and the mainstream media lifting up all these former rock stars, former performers, people that are they're closer to death's door than they are relevancy, but they're still out there speaking truth to power, as they would say. But I mean, really, it's just like a disgusting display in contrast with what was celebrated at the White House and what's been celebrated in D.C. And remember, this stuff is just kicking off. This doesn't end anytime soon. This is going to continue through July. They have events planned in D.C. and in other places to commemorate America's 250th anniversary.
Yeah. Bette Midler has lost her voice. I watched that, and I'll just say this. They should be thankful that social media exists, because without social media, I would have never even known that this counter event was going on. And when I saw it on social media, it was largely and rightfully mocked as just idiocy on parade. Now, mind you, the true believers are thinking this is the biggest thing in the world, but I mean, a fraction of a percent of Americans saw it. Um,
Yes.
when you get Bette Midler and Jane Fonda on the same stage shitting all over America, it's kind of like people just roll their eyes and say, well, what's new? Jane's been at this, Hanoi Jane's been at this since 68, 67, whenever the hell she went over there and, mounted herself on a anti-aircraft gun from the Viet Cong. So I don't give a damn what they think. And I think that people that do are just not very well. I know they're not very bright. They certainly don't know much about history. But for the most part, it was a great weekend. That little sideshow notwithstanding.
You know what's funny about that too is prior to this event, they were hyping it up that there'd be more people watching their musical counter protest than watching the UFC fight. But obviously, nothing could have been further from the truth there. And again, I think most of these people knew it ahead of time. I mean, I guess there's probably a few that are just totally detached from reality that thought more people might actually, again, tune in to their counter protest.
Yeah.
But why? Why would people do that? But it doesn't make any sense. The media is going to continue to lie because that's what they do. They're nitpicking stuff about this event. I saw even the Weather Channel was trying to say, oh, it's going to be heat and mosquitoes. They're not going to turn out. They were trying to say, that. Or they're going to cancel it due to thunderstorms, which luckily those didn't materialize because that would have been a little bit more legitimate reason to maybe postpone or hold the event had lightning strikes all over the place. But yeah, I mean, it's just such a clear contrast. And I want to flash back, like we alluded to a minute ago, what the left brought us. Leftists blast UFC Freedom 250 for defiling the White House, despite past silence on vandalizing Founding Fathers statues, topless trans activists on the South Lawn under Biden. And we could go on and on and on with a lot of the actions of the left, we'll say, from the Summer of Love, again, destroying statues, a lot of times not even understanding whose statues they were destroying. I mean,
Not caring.
What's that?
Not giving a damn.
Yeah, they don't care. Several of these that they brought down were people that fought against slavery. They destroyed the statue gifted to Lincoln from freed slaves, which again is upside down and backwards. But because it depicted a black man in chains, it had to go. I'm trying to remember the other figure that they. I think it was in New York. They destroyed the statue in a park, and again, he was one of the abolitionists that led the fight against slavery, and was one of these figures that's very inspirational to Lincoln prior to becoming president. I mean, again, these people are just detached from reality. They invent their own history. We're sick and tired of it. These people are deranged, and we need to make mental institutions great again.
Yeah. Well, I would just say that that the old, you start tearing down statues. This is the irony of all of this, really, when you think about it. And the left can't be bothered with this because if they were bothered with it, it would destroy their worldview. So they just ignore it. They live in a twilight zone, kind of, a dimension outside of ours
Yeah.
where everything that has anything to do with America sucks. Now, these people would be well advised. I would say, move to Sudan. See how things go for you there. If you're LGBTQ plus 1A uh, activist and you're railing against the U.S., go live in Tehran for a little while and see how that goes. For that matter, go to Saudi Arabia and see how that works for you. They don't care about it though. Their whole MO is to never let the problems go away. Because if there are no issues with racism, and I'm not saying there ever will be. I mean, human nature is human nature. And racism exists across the racial spectrum. You can be
Yes.
black and be racist. You can be white and be racist. You can be Asian. You can be Jewish. You can be Muslim. You can be Baptist. It doesn't matter. It's just a human
You're
condition.
you're always going to have some individual idiots out there. It's
Exactly right.
institutional racism
But
that's the problem.
Booker T. Washington said it over 120 years ago that there will always be a segment of the population that refuses to let these problems go away, because if these problems go away, so does their funding, so does
Yes.
their money, so does their power. So they can't let them go away. And they rely on very stupid and ahistorical people that get in line like sheep to follow them. And the funny thing about it all, Michael, is when you talk to these people that do believe this garbage, you realize just how absolutely ignorant they are of American history. They don't know it, and they don't care to know it.
No.
It's pretty stunning. But go America. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Well, the race baiting poverty pimps are never going to stop, because if they do, their income stream stops. And
Yeah.
again, unfortunately, our schools are no longer educating people; they're indoctrinating people by and large. And this is another problem. It's gonna have to end. We're gonna have to really do something about it. And again, the changes that are necessary here are going to be difficult. We're going to have to fire a lot of these teachers. We're probably going to have to reclassify a lot of them as registered sex offenders, so they can't ever be around kids again. But all of them that are involved in this LGBTQ MS-13 trans nonsense, they shouldn't be allowed anywhere near your kids again. If they're activists, they've been trying to hide this stuff from parents. There's going to have to be permanent consequences, and we're going to have to actually gut these programs and in them in the schools and imprison the people that are trying to hide it right now. Again, this is already unlawful. But we're going to have to actually have some enforcement there, or this problem is never going to end. I mean, it's never going to end small scale, but we're going to have to actually start really fighting back. And again, the left is telling us their plans. Before we get over to the World Cup, I just want to show you guys this thing from Raphael Warnock over the weekend. He says packing the Supreme Court and imposing term limits are on the table when Democrats take back power. And to remind you guys once again, we got Graham Plattner and others saying that they need to arrest the other J6 defendants, the ones that weren't already pardoned, because Trump's pardon only covered the ones who had already been arrested and charged. And this is their mentality. They've also suggested, Plattner and others have suggested impeaching people on the Supreme Court, removing other judges, removing members of Congress, even if they gain the upper hand, because if they have power, we know they'll use it. And our side had better find their testicles and start fighting back to win and utilizing the power they have, or we are going to be screwed.
Well, I just hope that that John Thune eventually gets booted from his leadership role in the Senate, because right now it's all bottlenecked in the Senate. Everything from the Save Act to right on down the line, you can lay it at the feet of John Thune and the Republican-led Senate. If
Yeah.
Mike Lee were in charge, the Save Act would already be the rule of the land. Um, and there are, I think it's worth pointing this out. There are good, very good senators in the U.S. Senate that want to do the right thing. Mike Lee, top amongst that list, as far as I
Yeah.
can tell. But when you've got John Thune saying, "Look, it's a matter of math," when they start relying on that, that means that they're not whipping their votes. We've talked about
Well,
Nancy Pelosi as speaker. Nancy Pelosi was a horrible speaker for America, but a great speaker for the Democrat Party. She always got her voters in line. John Thune can't do that, won't do that, doesn't want to do that, because he wants to be a thorn in the side while pretending to be the diplomatic, guy
Well,
that everybody loves, and he's just not.
it's even worse than that, though, because Thune is still pretending we have to have 60 votes for everything. He refuses to get rid of the filibuster, even though, again, they could do that at a snap of their fingers. The Republicans control the Senate, and they can change the rules. This is how it's done before. And in the House, they're not without fault in this either. They should have been codifying all of Trump's executive orders and pushing those through. Even if that meant they were stalled at the Senate, at least it would be putting it at their feet and making them bear responsibility for none of this happening. But instead, they're both wimps, and they just won't do the job they were put there to do. Now, again, I don't care if some of these things fail, at least having the effort and sending the right message. I mean, this is why the base right now is in a lot of places very unhappy, is lack of action. And there's nothing you can point to suggest otherwise. I know people make excuses, say, oh, we just have to get through this. Well, I'm sorry, the voters aren't having it. This 18 months in, a lot of this stuff hasn't been done. That hasn't even been attempted. If they were at least trying, and we had names on the record of people supporting this, supporting the legislation that we all voted for, or against it, at least it'd be something to point to. But right now, they just look like a bunch of losers on both sides, and they wonder why nobody's, why we're down 30% in voter turnout in a lot of states. It's because people are furious.
I would just say this: nothing galvanizes a political party more than winning. This is why Trump ran on. You're gonna get so tired of winning. We're gonna win. But yes, you're going to find the weak links in the chain in both the House and the Senate. But one thing, at least the House passed the SAVE Act. They did dump that on the Senate. The Senate is just, and they could get through with a clear 51 vote majority with Vance being the tiebreaker if Thune decided to pull that trigger. He won't, because he likes to pretend that look, we want to keep the traditions alive, and we want to, it's all BS. The Democrats would absolutely have done this a long time ago if it benefited their party. This isn't about party, though. This is about helping the country. We should have the SAVE Act passed. A lot of voters in the Republican Party are pissed off, rightly so. But with what's going on today, Michael, I guarantee you, I think it's almost a locked-in fact that as this Iranian deal, and nobody says it's going to hold, we hope it does. We certainly hope it does. And I'm sure there's a lot of crap going on behind the scenes that nobody is privy to. And that is basically probably Trump telling these imams that if you don't follow through with this, we'll kill every member of your family, starting with you. But beyond that, once this success starts bubbling up, once the economy blows up, once gas drops down to $2.60 a gallon again, or $3 a gallon, all of a sudden, some of these Republicans that have been kind of waffly and walking on the fence, they're going to have to get in line. They're not going to have a choice. Some of them never will, and those people need to be primaried, whether they're House, Senate, whatever.
Here's the problem again, though. This is out of line with where a lot of the younger voters are, and that's what Trump counted on to get across the finish line. They don't care about this international stuff. It means nothing to them. They're unhappy with the current state of things, but getting things back to normal, to the baseline, doesn't change the things that they're unhappy about. And that's, again, if you're going to be the podcast president, you're going to go rely on Joe Rogan and a lot of these other people to get the votes that you need to get things across the finish line, then you had better live up to those promises. And this kind of gets to the other underlying problem at the DOJ and elsewhere. It's Congress too. But this doesn't solve anything. It doesn't really change anything as far as the calculus that they're concerned about.
It doesn't to you. And
but we need, but again, you need those voters. Well, again, it's irrelevant, though, because you need these voters to actually get the people across the finish line. And if they're not showing up, then you can't win. And that's kind of where we're having this problem right now, is this disconnect there, that the cheerleading, they're kind of tired of. They're just done with it. Now, again, it's not that it's a bad thing. If we were getting what we voted for, it wouldn't be such a big deal. But yeah, this is where a lot of people are, and it is self-evident already in the turnout. But to move this over to the Knicks, I mean, and just the stark contrast between what happened in D.C. and what happened in New York, because again, it wasn't just on Saturday. This has been ongoing. They've had riots there several times after the games now. 63 arrested after Knicks championship celebration descends into chaos across New York City. I had several influencers getting arrested. This poor guy, this 17-year-old beaten into coma in New York City as Knicks complete historic comeback against Spurs in NBA Finals. You had 10 police officers right now in the hospital, injured. One of them possibly blinded. And this poor kid's in a coma still right now. You had numerous assaults caught on camera, gunshots. Originally, they're saying one incident at Times Square. It appears to have been at least two now. And why is it that we're now descending into the third world here to celebrate victories? I mean, this is this now just a result of how far New York's fallen, or is this the result of inviting in a gazillion third worlders? And this is what they do. We just saw it in France a few weeks ago, or a week ago.
Well, look, I don't know if you saw, but before that final game in San Antonio, the San Antonio sheriff basically got up and did a presser. And he basically told everybody in the city of San Antonio that, hey, paraphrasing, but essentially, hey, we ain't New York. And if you try that crap here, you will be beaten down, you will be cuffed, you will be locked up, you will be prosecuted, and you will go to jail. And we're not playing the game. NYPD, God bless those guys and gals. I mean, I feel for them. They've got a mayor, and you say, "Oh, why we're descending into a third world country here?" Well, when you elect third world style government, you're going to get third world style results, and that's exactly what Mandami has done. I mean, do you think this would have happened under Giuliani? I'm not saying that people wouldn't have burned and flipped cars and done all that.
Yeah,
they may well have, but those people would have been arrested. Which, to the credit of NYPD, they did make a lot of arrests. Now the problem is, where does it go from here? Are they going to be slapped on the wrist and let go? Like if Giuliani, when he cleaned up New York, and I remember it well, he used what was called the broken window philosophy. If you did something as simple as throw a rock through a window, you went to jail. Mandami ain't going to do that. He's just not going to do that. He's going to say, well, there's inequities here. And he'll use all their buzzwords that they always do on the left because the left is stupid. And that's what happens. But I didn't expect. Listen, if the New York Knicks would have lost that game, there would have been riots. If they won that game, there were going to be not riots is a bit of a stretch. There would have been pandemonium, and there was pandemonium.
Yeah.
No matter what happened, the writing was on the wall. Everybody knew it was going to happen. I live very close to New York. We were all joking about it before tip-off of that final game. We said, well, either way, New York's going to burn, and lo and behold, New York burns. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that's the thing. It's like it is unacceptable. And when this happened after the first few games, why weren't they out in force to stop it at the fourth game there in New York?
The cops were out. The cops, and had to be fair, the cops were out there. But if the cops don't get the support of the politicos that run the city, whether it's the DA's office, the AG's office, or the mayor's office, or even the governor's office, then the cops can't do much. I mean, they can cuff people and zip tie them, but then when they get to the court, they're just shown out the back door. There you go. Have a nice day. Sorry for your inconvenience. Go burn a few more cars and turn over some stuff. And that's what's happening in New York. It's like the old child's book. If you give a mouse a cookie, if you let criminals know that, look, we're going to go easy on you, guess what? They're going to act out. And that's
and I guess
done to New York. It's pathetic.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, regardless of the police and the tools that they have, that that you're right, it is the political will and it's the message that's being sent that this is acceptable. So again, we got to crack down on this. This can't be allowed to happen. I saw other people bringing up, in Boston they climbed flagpole or they climbed light poles and put up flags and they flipped over some cars after some victory there. I don't remember when. But same thing, those people need to be scooped up and arrested. It's one thing they get loud and rowdy and they're drinking beers in the street or whatever. I think most people will be willing to look the other way and let people celebrate. The problem is the destruction of property. It's, the vehicles that were overturned and set on fire, police cars destroyed. I saw people ripping apart a school bus in a video.
Three school buses were burnt to the ground.
Well, this is third world shit. This shouldn't be happening here in the U.S. And anybody that participated in that should be locked up for an extended period. We've got to finally start enforcing the law again, or this kind of stuff's just going to continue. I know, again, I don't know why, people are just excusing it and saying, well, it's just New York. They were just happy they won. They're happy they won, so they looted stores, they burned cars, destroyed vehicles. Again, if you're going to have that mentality, you don't belong here. Send them back home to where
Agreed.
they go.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed. But it's I don't think it's that people are saying, oh well, whatever, it was gonna happen. I joked about that because we did know it was gonna happen. But
yeah,
we knew it was gonna happen for one reason. Zoran Mandami. That's why we knew it was gonna happen. Um, you see this kind of garbage go on. You don't see it happen in other in red states and red cities. You just don't see it.
yeah,
People are a little bit more respectful there. But in New York City, hey, we won for the first time since 1973. We have the NBA championship team. That calls for burning buses. That calls for flipping cars. That calls for attacking cops. I mean, only parasitic imbeciles believe that kind of garbage.
yeah.
And when you have somebody at the top saying, you guys, please be careful, please don't get hurt, don't force the cops to abuse you. And that's exactly what you're going to get. This is all 100% the fault of the left. 100%, all of it.
Yep. Well, time to start doing something about it. Again, this is an embarrassment, especially when you contrast this to what's going on with the World Cup right now. World Cup guests are telling the world that the USA is awesome. There's been a number of these like travel bloggers and other people here. You mentioned somebody was like Irish. We were talking about this before
Scottish.
air. Scottish, sorry. Yeah, I've been watching a guy that's from Australia that he's going around doing all the American things, going to Walmart and Waffle House and talking about how like beautiful Georgia is when you get outside of Atlanta, and how what do you call it? It's a city built in a forest because I guess all the roadways and the loop and all that around there where you're driving through a rural area before you get back to or not rural area, I guess, but they preserved nature in and around the city. Unlike
Yeah.
New York, that's like or Chicago, it's essentially a concrete jungle with little parks spattered here and there.
Yeah.
But it's really been cool to watch this reaction from a lot of the Europeans, people from South America and other places as they're touring the country and touring Canada and Mexico, and just seeing how wonderful it is here and how their media there kind of casts us in a negative light all the time, no matter what, and that's not what they're seeing here on the ground.
Well, I mean, imagine that. You come from the UK, where the UK and Ireland and France and Germany and even Spain are on fire because of their radical immigration, open borders policy. Trump comes in, addresses that here. People are proud of America. Real Americans are proud of this country because they know its history. We have the 250th birthday celebration coming up here in July, as you mentioned, and foreigners are seeing this and going, good God, man, the BBC shits all over our own country. They prop up Keir Starmer in the UK, who is a mannequin, who does nothing, and ignores his own people. And then they come to the United States and they see Americans proud to be American. Um, it's got to be a massive contrast for them. And I mean, I know I've followed some of these vloggers too. And there's one guy from Scotland who, I mean, he goes into a Bucky's and is just absolutely floored. He's like, I can't even believe what I'm looking at here. It's
Yes.
so out of the norm for them, and it's so American for us. And I'm happy to see it. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of people say, "Oh, I hate the World Cup. I don't give a damn about soccer." You can hate it all you want, but I'll tell you something. Football, as they call it is roughly 100 times bigger than the NFL. The NFL is nothing compared to how big soccer is on the world stage. So
Yeah.
the fact that we got the World Cup thanks to Trump, and the fact that we're kind of really putting our best foot forward and making these people look at America through a different light. I'm thrilled about it. So I'm not going to dump on the World Cup. I'm thrilled that it's here, and I'm happy that it's been so far a diplomatic success story as far as showing the world what we're really all about. New York
Yeah.
City notwithstanding after their NBA victory.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny too. In a couple cities, I should have grabbed this beforehand, but I didn't. But the left is trying to push back against fascism by educating the foreigners that are here as to the realities of fascism in America. But we'll probably cover that more tomorrow. I haven't had a chance to read through all the articles yet, and I just
Meanwhile, Graham Plattner. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Graham Plattner.
pretty much. Well, they don't care about the hypocrisy, and the media is not going to ever cast it that way. That's part of why we just need to replace them. And then I want to go shout out to the Japanese FIFA fans that are here. Class act. Japanese FIFA fans stay behind after World Cup match to clean the stadium. Earn worldwide praise, while Democrat-run New York looks like a dystopian war zone after the Knicks NBA Finals air quotes celebration. This is why we have to go back to what America once was. We have to return to being a high trust society. We've got to end this reign of terror from leftist cities and leftist states all over the country. I don't know. I mean, it's not going to be a short process to do that, but we have to get back to a society like this that does take care of public property, public events, things like that do actually care. And we got to end this mentality of snitches getting stitches and whatever else. We have to go back to a sane society that makes sense, that is pro-American and pro our values. And again, shout out to the Japanese for sticking behind to clean up the stadium, the trash left behind there. But it just shows you how the other places in the world, how a high trust society operates versus how we operate.
Well, and a part of the problem with what you just said there, I mean, I love it. I love what you're saying. I agree with it 100%. We got to get back to that decency in America. The Democrat Party has for so long relied on what's the word? They've relied on the anger. They've fueled it. So the Democrat Party is never going to help in that objective to getting back to a decent, morally upright society, because it doesn't help them. It hurts them.
Yeah.
This is why they opened the borders, not because they wanted a bunch of criminals in here, simply because they didn't give a damn about the criminals. What they were doing was flooding the zone. But what's going on in New York is largely not immigrants that are doing this crap. It's New Yorkers, New York leftist, New York, welfare recipients,
Yes.
gangs, black, white, Hispanic. They're all doing it. I watched the footage of it. People say, "Oh, it's all black." No, it's not all blacks. Blacks are involved. So are Hispanics. So are whites. It's the leftists that promote this garbage.
It's
And
the EBT class.
yeah, put it this way: if you were to go to Tokyo, if you were to take any of those New York hoodlums that terrorized Manhattan after the win, and you were to drop them in Tokyo and let them try that, they would never leave Japan. They would be locked up, and that would be it. It would be like, okay, you're not fit for society. But the Democrat Party can't allow that to happen because it would destroy their party.
Yep.
So they need the frustrations, just like they need the racism, just like they need all of this stuff. They need the socialism. They need, you see the way they're losing their ever-loving minds over Elon Musk becoming the world's first trillionaire.
Yes.
They don't know a damn thing about Elon Musk other than he's richer than they are, therefore he's the enemy. As if there's one pie and Elon Musk has carved himself out a huge slice of the pie and told everybody else to go to hell. You can't tell a leftist that that's not how the economy works, because they don't know, and they're not patient enough to learn it. So screw them. And we need to get back to a decent society. It starts with getting rid of the left. And that's going to be very hard to do. But
yeah, well, I think it starts with reforming our education system and then drastic welfare reforms. We've got to end the EBT class. We've got to get back to a system that makes sense. Again, like, I don't mind helping people out for a temporary or short-term problem, whether it's their fault or not. But we've got to limit how long you can stay on there. It can't be no more putting it on your kids' names and keeping it on it for 2 years at a time.
Multi-generational, bro. It's multi-generational. I interviewed Alveda King, and Alveda King, and I've interviewed her many times. She is a sweet, sweet lady. She, of course, is the niece of MLK Jr.
Yep.
And her famous line is, "There's not a black race and a white race. There's a human race." Wonderful sentiment and all that. But even she would talk about this and say, what's happened is multi-generational welfare. And Thomas Sowell has talked to this too.
Oh, yeah.
Saying that you want to help people out, and in the words of Jesse Jackson, help people up rather than push them down. I get all that. Lift people up. But you don't lift up generation after generation after generation by redistributing wealth. You say, look, we're going to give you an opportunity here to earn your keep, but once it expires, you're done with it. We're not giving you any more. But Democrats won't allow that to happen because they need that dependent class. It's
Yeah.
it's really so obvious, and that the left pretends not to see it and pretends that they're the compassionate ones when they have never, ever, ever been compassionate. Defunding the police was not compassionate to black neighborhoods in the inner city. It made crime worse. It made shootings a daily event. And but some of these, and I'll say it, white college age kids, especially the women,
Hmm.
they're just stupid. They've been brainwashed.
Yeah.
And I say it to their face whenever I see them. If they say if they try and argue Trump's a Nazi, I'm like, well, you're an idiot. So there you go.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah. Well, that's why I say again, we got to fix the education system first, and then it's time to gut these
he's
social
tried.
welfare programs.
He's
Um,
tried by taking
Well,
out
we
the
haven't really
Department of
gone
Ed.
far enough. Again, I think, I, for one, am sick of these half measures. And I think that's where a lot of people are. This is exactly what we're seeing in England and the UK right now. I don't know if we'll have time to get to. Did you know there was another beheading in Europe over the weekend? It's hardly gotten any attention. This time in Italy. This time, again, citing the Quran. The guy sawed some woman's head off. But this is why, we're seeing this move from. Um, Reform to restore over there. People are sick and tired of these half measures that don't actually fix the problem. And it's time to just put our enemies on notice that they are going to be defeated. We're going to end these programs, whether that's through the school or cutting welfare programs back to 3 months. And I don't care if your whole family starves to death afterwards. That's the mentality we're going to take. If you can't get your act together in 90 days, then too bad. You're not somebody our society needs. And that I am fine with that. I think we're going to have to move into this mentality. It probably is going to kill some people, but that's okay. The rest of them will wake up and get it together, even if they're mad about it. And I don't care how mad they are about it. Because again, if we fix the education system, we fix everything else, we can actually restore our country to what it once was and then not have these problems going forward. But there's going to have to probably be some blood lost before we get there, because too many people are too embedded and too programmed to overcome this. So we're going to have to start really solving these issues permanently.
Well, I'm like, don't let don't let great be the enemy of good. You can say what you want about Trump. Oh, he's not. He's only doing half measures. He has done more for the Department of Ed, the DOE, and hopefully it'll be done before he leaves office. He's done more to address this than any president in the past, and by a large margin. The
Sure.
problem is this has become such a massive bureaucracy, and not just a bureaucracy of state and government, but a bureaucracy of media, a bureaucracy of academia. It's going to take much more than 2 terms by President Trump to turn that around. It's
Yeah.
going to take an entire shift in the narrative. How do you
Mhm.
shift the narrative? Well, first you get rid of all the Marxist professors and you start weeding out the media. The media is doing a good job, by the way, of doing that to themselves. They
Yeah.
are largely irrelevant. They've got lower approval ratings than any politician. So I think I give Trump a huge round of applause for doing more than every president before him. Will it
Yeah.
take more work? You're damn right it will. But
Yeah.
you can't say, oh, he's not trying. He's trying, but it's a pretty big monster to face because they've built it for so
Yeah.
long.
Well, I see. I guess I look at it the other way. Is that's not a good excuse. Just because we now know how big the monster is, that doesn't mean we can't slay it. Now, steps in the right direction are great, and that is, um, I'm glad something happened. But we keep leaving these problems festering. So we do need to. And I think a lot of what they've done is reveal just how bad this is and how deep the divide is. But now we know. Now we know for sure how big the dragon is and that it still needs slain. So, I mean, that's how I see it. We should be amping up the effort, not backing down and not compromising.
I don't disagree with you, Michael, but what I'm saying is there's some things that you just have to be. I mean, and I
Well, you don't
completely.
have
Not
to.
only do I not disagree with you, I completely agree with you. But and this is the only but that I would have.
Hmm.
But pragmatism is a fact of life. And if you
Yeah.
just go in there and say, you know what, screw it, From now on, everybody on welfare, you got 3 months to get your shit together or you're off. That
Yep.
sounds great. We'd love to see that. It'll never, ever happen. You will have hundreds and thousands of lawsuits filed against you. You will have
Sure.
every single appellate district court ruling against you. Trump doesn't have enough time in his office to do that. So
Yeah.
what is he doing? He's taking big swings at it. Linda McMahon is helping out. But it's well beyond that. I mean, the problem is so entrenched that it's
Well,
going to take decades.
yeah,
It's
those
going
are the
to take
excuses, and we've been hearing them for years.
But it's true. It's
No,
true.
I'm not convinced it is.
True.
I'm really not convinced it is. I think there is clearly will from the people to change this stuff. That it's the politicians that we need to remove.
Until it happens.
Yeah. Excuses.
Because the media and everybody else is going to say, look at this poor woman. She doesn't. Or they will pull out every sob story in the book.
Of course they will.
And then,
But again, this is letting them control the narrative.
Polls will change.
Yeah. Well, this is unless, again, we actually stick to our guns and do something about it. Again, this is why the half measures aren't working. People are tired of it. And we are going to have to find people to do the hard things. And I don't care if there is a pile of bodies left in the wake of doing the right thing, because in the long run, we'll be in much better shape as a nation. And honestly, I think these people are mostly part of the problem. So it'll be a win for us and a win for America, regardless. But we're just going to have to actually address and fix these issues once and for all. We have to start setting the agenda. And stop letting the left set it and then us constantly being on defense. We have to push our ideas forward and stop letting them control things. That's part of the problems for so long, that the Republicans are just the brakes on the left's progress. And we can't be that anymore. We have to get out ahead of them, and we have to put them on the defensive, make them justify their ideas instead of us constantly playing catch up. It's unacceptable. But let's sneak in one other story here before we run out of time. White House and Iranian regime both confirm peace deal has been reached. Let the oil flow. And VP Vance confirms Hormuz Strait to reopen toll-free, says Israel has seat at the table. I'm glad that they got this peace deal done. We'd heard several times over the last few weeks. So we had a deal. We didn't have a deal. It's been back and forth a bunch of times. Babylon V had a great headline on this a few days ago, that Trump sets record of defeating Iran 27 times in 1 month. And but I don't really expect this peace. I mean, this is the unfortunate thing, is I just don't expect this peace deal to last if they even make it to Friday to sign it. Because that's what we've seen back and forth from both sides leading up to this. I know we're hearing this time's different, but I'm not really convinced. I wish it were the case, but let's just put it this way. I have my doubts.
Well, I would just say this. I think a lot of people have their doubts. I think that probably includes Trump. Have their doubts.
Yeah.
But you can't let doubt, put it this way. Take a look at what's going on in the markets right now. I mean, the S&P 500 is up triple digits right now, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Oil is plummeting. It's $80 a barrel right now. So that will be all to the good. I would wager, Michael, and Trump as well as I do in the way he acts. I would wager that behind the scenes, Trump is telling those mullahs, we're going to take your dust, which apparently is part of the deal. Now, we haven't seen the memorandum yet on this, and a lot of people are saying, well, until we celebrate, we want to see it. Well, you're going to see that because they're going to sign it next week, or this week, rather, and Trump may well be there, part of it. So we'll see if he's there. But Trump is not going to put himself in a situation where he claims we've won and peace is here and let freedom ring and all this stuff. He's not going to put himself in that situation without telling the mullahs in no uncertain terms, I know where you live. I know where your wife lives, your parents live, your children go to school, and every one of those people, starting with you, will be dead if you don't stick to this. I mean, the Iran. And again, this kind of, I know where you're going. You're kind of moving your head back and forth saying, oh, it's a half measures. This is not half measures. Half measures was Obama. It wasn't even a half measure. It was a step backwards with Obama. Biden was half measure. Hell, even Reagan was a half measure when you think about it. So Trump has done more to advance this cause of peace and this trying to get Iran to come in line with the rest of the world. Problem is they're zealots. So So Iranians are going to have to take them out. And I hope, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if behind the scenes there's some special ops forces in there doing that. But Trump can't talk about that. He's not going to mention it.
Yeah.
So he's just got to go the diplomatic route. And the markets are responding right now. Eventually, those mullahs have to go. But this war was never about regime change. Every time you start talking about we're going to plant the seeds of democracy, then you get Afghanistan, then you get Iraq, then you get Vietnam, for God's sakes. People have seen the history. They don't like it. So Trump saying, we're getting the dust. We're opening the Straits of Hormuz. We now produce more oil than Saudi Arabia and the rest of the Middle East combined, which we do. Overall, it is a great win for Trump, but the devil is in the details, and we have yet to see the details, and that's what doubt.
Yeah, and again, I think does it even make it to Friday? Because we've had, I don't know, I lost track of how many times we announced we had a deal that then fell apart, or the Iranians denied, or whatever, right off the bat within a few days, or that Israel disrupted, or vice versa. Because again, both Israel and Iran have broken the ceasefire unprovoked numerous times. It has mostly been the Iranians or their proxies, but both have done it. And yeah, I guess that's my big question: is can this even make it to Friday to be signed? Because I'm not real hopeful.
I think it will.
I know.
I'll tell you why I think it will. It has nothing to do with the mullahs. It has everything to do with financial realities. Right now, Iran is losing tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars every single day. Even the most zealot, radical mullahs cannot appease the populace for forever if they don't have food to eat.
Sure.
So they're going to have to. Now, I'm not saying it's going to last much past Friday. That's a different story. But I think it will last to Friday because they are desperate to get these sanctions relieved and get the embargo shut down on them so they can start importing and exporting again. Trump, I tell you, Michael, I'm telling you, he told these guys, I will kill you all. And I don't doubt that Trump would do that. And he will let Bibi off the leash. People are blaming Israel for a lot of this. Let me just tell you something. Last week, this was one of them that I saw, the right and the left, shitting all over Israel because Israel had the temerity to take out a Hezbollah leader in Beirut. Well, that Hezbollah leader, I've got it right here, his name was Musa Dafuk. Dafuk, I guess is how you spell it. But he was a massive leader of Hezbollah that was responsible for sending thousands of rockets into Israel, but more importantly to American red, white, and blue loving American patriots. He also is widely accused by the U.S. of playing a central role in orchestrating the January 20th, 2007 attack in Karabola, Iraq. Militants from the Iran-backed Ashi, I can't even pronounce the name, Yabba Dabba Doo, militia who helped kill American forces. The guy that Israel took out was responsible for killing hundreds of American troops. And yet now the people that are saying we got to avenge our troops are now dumping on the country that just ended his life. I understand that Israel it could be a sticky thorn here. I get it.
Yeah. But again,
Mexico was firing thousands of missiles into San Antonio and San Diego.
But see, most of what you're saying there is totally irrelevant to this conversation. They agreed to a ceasefire and then they broke it. That's the bottom. So the excuses and why they did it and all that is totally irrelevant to the conversation. At least the way I see it. If you make an agreement, you stick. Yeah, I know. He's been bad to Bibi and all this, and he's trying to rein him in. But again, you can't trust either side, and that's kind of the point I'm making. Is they're both going to do whatever they want. They're going to make excuses for it, and. I tend to agree with Israel's logic a lot more than Iran's, but the fact of the matter is neither side is really doing what's necessary. Now, we'll see. Maybe things are suddenly different. It's not like Trump hasn't threatened Iran and their leaders with extinction before, but I'm very, very skeptical.
And he's carried it out.
Sometimes he has. He's also backed down a bunch of times. Remember? Well, even recently, we were going to blow up bridges and power plants multiple times and then didn't. Again, I just don't have a lot of faith in the process because of the facts that I've seen how it's gone for the last several months. Now, maybe this time will finally be different and we can all celebrate, but we'll see if we make it to Friday first before we even get that far along. And, I'm not convinced we will. Now
I think
I
we will.
hope
But I
we
would just
will.
say this. I will say this: beyond killing all the mullahs and their family members, I'll tell you what Trump's next move is going to be, because I think he's written on the. I mean, I think it's the writing is on the wall with this.
Yeah,
If they don't keep this, and Bibi, by the way, has got a lot of incentive to keep the ceasefire agreement now, because Trump basically said, "What the f are you doing?" And that's his exact quote to Bibi. "What
yeah,
the f are you doing?" He didn't say f either. Um,
mhm,
if Bibi loses America's support, Israel is in a world of hot water, and he
yeah,
knows that. So he could say, "Look, you may not like what we did, but this guy was responsible for killing thousands of your U.S. troops, and he's now dead."
yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah,
Fine. Let that be the end of it. Let that be the end of it. What the f are you doing? But Iran, on the other hand, what Trump would do to Iran is say, not only will I kill all of you guys, but I will by force take Karg Island, and I
yeah,
will take every drop of oil your country produces, and
yeah,
I will end your regime that way. And
yeah.
I think that's what he would do. But we'll see.
Yeah, and that's what he said recently too, that we were going to go into Karg Island, and then it was back on the block with talks again and whatever. And again, this is why I don't really take it seriously at this point, because you can talk all day, but again, if you keep stopping before something's done, there's never consequences, then the enemy never learns.
But the
Um,
consequences have already
and
been there, Michael. I mean, they've
well,
taken out
they really haven't.
their leadership.
Well, again, we've been making threats for 2 months now, and not following
And you
through.
can.
No, we haven't followed through most of the time. More often than not, we've backed
That's
down.
because he does not want.
I know. I know the excuses, Steve. But
I
again, this
don't
is
think
why
it's
I
an
don't
excuse. I think it's a
expect.
reality.
Well,
You cannot turn the entire country of Iran, largely which is pro-Western. Many of the
yeah,
civilians are.
yeah.
If
I know,
you start
Steve.
bombing every bridge and every single infrastructure in that country, those people that are
Well,
waving the flag right now will
again, the
quickly
point I'm
join
trying to
the other.
make, though, is they keep saying what they need to spare their butts. They come back to the table all of a sudden, and they go right back to what they do before, and
Well,
that
those are
is
the
the real.
mullahs.
Yes, but that's the reality, and that's who we're dealing with. So that's why I don't think this is going to hold up, that nothing's going to change. There haven't been consequences when we've threatened them before. Instead, they come back to the table, they pretend to play along, and then a few days later, they're back to the usual nonsense. Maybe it'll last till Friday. Maybe we'll get something signed. It certainly isn't going to last into the near future. And instead, it's just, time for them to rearm and re-equip themselves to come back at us even harder. So hopefully that isn't the case. But, that's why I'm not
I
real
don't think it is as
hopeful
long as
on
Trump
this.
is in
I
office.
know. That's what
I really
everybody
don't.
says. But again, it keeps
Hey,
being the
look,
other
man,
way.
we were sending $780 million on pallets of cash in the dark of night under Obama. We were
Yeah.
releasing loads and loads of terrorists to Iran to get 4 U.S. hostages back.
Yeah.
What Trump has done is so vastly better than that
And
that
I
I
get
think
that.
jump
But
all
that
over the
also
effort is
doesn't
wrong.
address the current situation. And I,
Well, yeah,
again,
but the current situation has a 47-year backlog of history to it. And you
correct.
can't just ignore that. And that's why you're probably saying, and I agree with you, when you say they'll just go back to their old tricks. Well, they
Yeah.
may well, because in the past that has always worked for them. We wait it out, we play the waiting game. I don't think Trump is going to allow that option to be on the table. And I think Karg Island is the linchpin. And when you take out the first 4
Yeah.
tiers of leadership in Iran is all dead.
Yeah.
So you've got the IRGC over here, and you've also got the civilian government, quote unquote, over here. And so
Yeah.
you're talking to people that are directly opposed to a lot of what is being discussed.
Yeah. But again, like I keep saying, though, we just keep seeing them back. They don't stick to it. They come to the table very, very temporarily when they need to. And then the minute the pressure's off and we back down, it goes right back to what it was. They're attacking ships in the straits. And part of this is because of the fractured
Well,
leadership there.
if that happens under Trump, I would be willing to bet my last dollar that Trump will. To say, "Oh, Trump hasn't made them pay," he's made a lot of them pay.
Well,
But again, getting back to pragmatism. You've got
yeah.
to say, okay, look, we are the superpower here, really the only superpower in the world when it comes to our oil and what we can do with energy. We are the
Right.
energy superpower, and Trump can just say, you know what, I'm tired of playing this game. Now I'm going to really make you pay, and I guarantee you, there's back and
Yeah.
forth deals going on that we are completely non-privy to.
I hope so, but again, like I keep saying over and over again, is this isn't what we're actually seeing. It's very hopeful thinking, and hopefully you're right, but that hasn't been what we've seen through this whole endeavor.
47 years. And that's why I think it's.
Well, not even just the 47 years, just during this conflict, we've seen tough talk that they pretend to come to the table, total reversal. And that's
but
been
it's still a
repeated
bit
for
different,
six.
though, Michael. It must be
I
said,
know
this time it
it's
is
very different. Of
This
course it
time
is.
I'll tell you why it's different. I'll tell you why it's different. Because this time we have a chip that we didn't have before. And that chip is we produce the oil. We could just sit there and say, you know what? We produce 10 times as much oil as your country ever will be able to produce. I wish we could build some more
Yeah,
refineries. But he's all I just think that if you sit there and say, well, it's not good enough, what you're wanting is Trump to sit there and say, we're going to kill them all, screw it.
yeah,
And we want and in academia in the United States, we're going to arrest them all, screw it. You
yeah.
can't do that in the real world. You
You
can't do it.
can, though. That's the problem. I mean, again, all we
Well,
have to do
yeah,
is
you
look to El
can
Salvador. El
you can't do
Salvador
it in
actually
college.
did it, and look at what kind of condition they're in now. You can do this.
Well,
Plenty
Kim
of countries
Jong-un has
have.
done it in Korea.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, yeah, and
He's
maybe we do have to
firing.
do that. But and you don't have to go that far. Look at Argentina and El Salvador. Those are both in recent history. They went after and arrested the criminals. They actually did something about it. They
And
stopped
they
their
did
enemies.
that because they are a largely Christian country.
But
And
again, I hear so many
Islam is
excuses
going to be the
of why we can't. But we can do these things. This isn't that hard. But
I think
instead,
we're
we
gonna do
focus
'em. I
on.
think we're gonna do them. I really do. You and I have a different outlook on this. I
Yeah,
really do believe, and I believe this with every fiber of my being. I
yeah,
believe that Trump has done more to bring about world peace than any president in the entire history of the United States with
yeah,
regards to Islamic terror.
yeah,
We have killed so many of them. Yes,
yeah,
we've threatened this and that. That's called bluster.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
called diplomacy. That's hardline diplomacy. But I
mhm,
guarantee you, if they don't, if put it this way, if a ship, if an oil tanker from Bahrain gets sunk in the Strait of Hormuz after this deal is signed,
mm.
Carg Island is gone. It's gone. It's
Yeah.
gone.
I don't see it. I think he'll
I
talk
do.
about it, but he won't do it. And that's sort of been
Why
the
wouldn't he
on.
do it?
Well,
Why
because
wouldn't
they'll
he do
come
it?
back to the table, they'll pretend to be sorry again, then he'll back
No, he
down.
won't.
Because
Trump doesn't.
well, Steve, remember all this last time was in response to them shooting down a helicopter, and then we backed down. Don't you think that would have been a line too far for them to cross?
They
And,
shot
and,
down
and
the helicopter, which did not, and both pilots were recovered.
totally
Yeah,
irrelevant. They still shot
and
down a helicopter.
we hit over 25 targets. We killed
Yeah.
over 100 Iranians. I'd say
It-
that's a pretty proportional response.
well,
So
again,
I'm of the mind of Patton. Basically, Patton, when he went into Germany, he said this to his troops. He said, "For every one American they kill, we take out 100 of theirs."
yeah,
Trump is obviously of that mind too, because that's what he
yeah,
did with this helicopter attack. But if he's made to look a fool on the world stage after he goes to Geneva and inks this deal, and the
yeah.
mullahs turn around and make him look like an idiot, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Trump says, "Take Carg Island, kill as many of them as you can, and
Yeah.
we're going to take control of
Well,
this."
maybe, but we'll see. As again, I keep saying, is that isn't what we've seen so far. Is they pretend to come back. I know, Steve. I know, but they keep pretending to come back, and then we back down again. We talk about how great they are. They really want peace too, but that's not what we're seeing on the ground. And hopefully, it's different this time. Maybe it will be. Maybe this will be the first time they're finally serious and they finally mean it.
I don't think
But
they do mean it, Michael.
no.
I'm not disagreeing with you there.
Yeah,
I just don't think they're going to have a choice. This is like
Yeah,
somebody
maybe.
grabbing my throat with a fist raised and saying, "If you step out of line again, I'm going to give you the beat down of your life." Now,
Yeah.
Trump has already done that in a large, he has. What has he not taken out? He has not taken out his infrastructure. He has not taken out massive highway systems and bridges. Why hasn't he done that? Nothing to do with the mullahs, has everything to do with the Iranian population. The Iranian
Well,
people are rallying to the flag of old Iran right now, to be sure.
yeah.
But you start taking out massive cities, you start taking out bridges, all
I
of
get
that
it.
goodwill goes
Yeah, I
away.
know. I know. That's kind of the
That's
talking
the
point.
hard reality.
Well, again, though, don't make. Well, then in that case, don't make threats you're not going to carry out. Maybe that's the
I think
problem
Carg
here.
Island will be gone if the mullahs. strike that. It's not even the mullahs. It's the IRGC, which are controlled by the mullahs, but nevertheless, it is the
Yeah,
IRGC. If the IRGC sends their little speedboats out to attack tankers after this deal is inked, I think you're going to see a ramp up of military uh, ass kicking, the likes of which Iran has not seen ever.
sure,
They've already
maybe.
got their asses kicked more than any president's ever done. And Trump
Yeah,
will just say, screw it. I made the deal. You've tried to make me look like a schmuck. And I'm not going to take it anymore. Carg Island is gone. I would not at all be surprised if he does that. That maybe one way or the other, we're going to find out. We'll find out
yeah.
which of us is correct.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we will. But like I keep saying, is we keep backing down on stuff, and there's a lot of assumption. So this will be like the, I don't know, 27th time that we've threatened to do something, and they come back to the table, then we back down. I mean, that's why I just don't see it, and not really sure what the reason for that is. Hopefully, again, we're both wrong. Hopefully, this deal actually sticks, but I just really have my doubts. I think it's just another more time buying, and we'll continue to see more excuses and retaliation. I mean, they know they've got the media here by the balls, and that they report back whatever Iran wants to hear. They're very astute politically when it comes to this, and that's
Yeah,
a
but
part of
given the
the
fact that the media doesn't hold sway over the American people the way it did even 10 years ago, that's not as much of an ace in the hole as they may think it is.
yeah
I just believe. Look, here's what we do know. We know the UAE. We know Egypt. We know now, mind you, Egypt hasn't done a lot to help, but they've
yeah
done nothing to help Iran. We also know Saudi Arabia. We know
yep
Kuwait. We know a lot of these countries are ready to join the forgive my expression, New World Order. I don't mean that the way
uh-huh
Bilderberg. I mean they want to be a part of the civilized world for
yeah
good reason. They're making a lot of money and they'd like to be able to do business with the rest of the world.
yeah
Iranian mullahs will never, ever. We ought to get Ryan Morrow on the show again one day because
yeah
Ryan can walk you through their mentality. People in the West look at the mullahs and think that they have that we can somehow reason with them. We cannot
yeah
reason with them ever. Trump knows this.
yeah
They can't be reasoned with it because they are zealots to the core. But
uh-huh
they can be made to face the harsh reality of it. And the financial harsh reality has really screwed them so far. Not to
yeah
mention the fact that thousands of their contemporaries are now dead.
yeah
But we'll see. We'll see.
yeah again, hopefully. I just don't see it, because again, that's not what we've seen even in recent history.
Pessimist. You're such a pessimist.
Well, I just like I'm really not a pessimist, but I also like to look at reality, and reality
I do
does not.
too. I do too.
Yeah, I'm typically more optimistic, but when all the facts line up against it, that's why I have the take I do on this and a lot of other things. If we were seeing something differently out of the White House or out of Iran or out of Israel for that matter in the last 90 days, I would have different thoughts on this. But again, I think this is Trump desperately wants a peace deal. That's obvious to everyone. Yeah, that
Sure.
I think he bit off more than he could chew when we went in there. He didn't think it was going to be this difficult, and now we're in a bad place, especially because our allies are unreliable. All of them talk tough initially, then refuse to send any help, and that's why we're in the position that we're in right now. Part of it,
Well,
but
Trump's in the G7 right now, and I can tell you this. Every world leader is kissing Trump's ass right now. All of them.
probably,
They can sit there. We can sit there and badmouth that. Oh, we're threatening and not pulling through. We're not, not following through. We can say that all we want, but
yeah,
he has done so much exponentially more than every president before him that it would be wrong not to give
hmm
him credit for it. It would be
sure,
wrong to shit on him for it. He has done a hell of a job. Now, to your point, will they stick through? Well, damn near a half century, they've thumbed their nose at the world on this,
hmm
but they've never dealt with Trump. The disfigured son of the former Ayatollah, who is now the supreme leader, still has not been seen in public. That's
yeah,
because he's missing half a face. I mean,
sure,
he has been disfigured, and I guarantee I wouldn't be at all surprised, Michael, not even a little bit. In fact, I'd be shocked if this wasn't the case. If there were not Delta forces and other SEAL teams and whatnot already infiltrated inside and kind of inside the inner workings inside Iran and getting. I know there's some good human intel there on the ground, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if Trump pulled like he did with the Taliban leader and just shows him a picture of his house and says, "This is where you're talking to me from." Remember when he
yeah,
did that? Scared the shit
Yeah.
out of them.
Well, I'm sure they've already done that there. I mean, they know that we know where every one of them lives, and we've tracked them down to safe houses and other things and hit them. But again, it takes actual kinetic action. Talking tough and then backing down the minute they give you a phone call is not going to cut it anymore. And that's what we've been seeing, is letting them control it.
I don't know if we've been backing down, though. I don't think that's really
We have
fair.
been. Well, I mean, what else would you call it?
We just haven't gone all out war on Iran because we care about the Iranian citizens because they're largely.
I know you, but the citizens weren't ever even really in that equation or the threat till more recently when he said bridges and power plants again. Otherwise, it was targeting the leadership. But regardless, the fact is we've had all these false starts for peace or ceasefires that no side seems to be able to hold or whatever. And that's kind of why I'm pessimistic on this, is because that's what we've seen.
I don't blame you.
But
frankly. I mean, shit. Iran is,
yeah,
is ripe with all of this stuff.
Well, and the fact that, again, they take advantage of that. They know they're not going to adhere to things, but they know it buys them time to do more of what they want. But we do need to wrap things up. So, Steve, thanks again for joining us today. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news, the mainstream.